Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Bevin Fletcher, Senior Editor of StreamTV Insider, and I'm here with Steve Reynolds, Chief Executive Officer of Imagine Communications. Hey, Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey, Bevin, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So, we're gearing up for the Stream TV show in Denver, where you're going to be on a panel session talking about convergence and bridging the gap between CTV and broadcast. And so, we're in a time where consumers and content are migrating to streaming, but obviously, linear isn't dead yet and still part of the picture, especially for advertising. So, from your purview, where are broadcasters and advertisers seeing the biggest challenge when it comes to converging TV, CTV, and linear inventory?
Yeah, first of all, let me just say that linear still plays a very important part in the overall ecosystem. In fact, for many of our customers, the majority of their ad revenue is actually still coming from the linear side. Now, of course, where we see the growth is on the digital and CTV side of the business. So, you've got a stable existing basis or business with linear, and then a growing business that's coming in from the CTV side. So you would think that overall that business would really be coming together and you'd see some great acceleration across the whole thing. Unfortunately, what we see instead is that the two parts aren't really working that well together. And I think part of the reason for that is because many of the people on the sell side, many of the people who have that inventory are still thinking about it in terms of the silos. They're operating one silo of linear inventory and another silo of digital inventory that prevents what we think would be the optimal outcome where those two things could be sold together. What we have seen work really well in other parts of the world is this notion of converging that inventory and moving towards what we call a total TV solution, bringing the entire audience together. So instead of selling a linear silo in terms of spots and a digital silo in terms of impressions, bring those two things together and start to talk about the total audience. Start to talk about how buyers can reach the audience that they're trying to reach across all of the different delivery platforms by utilizing this total TV model of converged inventory, converged audience, and ultimately moving towards converged selling models, converged workflows, converged reporting, and really streamlining the entire ad ecosystem.
So really more this holistic view of the whole TV ecosystem rather than just these silos, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the right answer moving forward because if you think about what buyers want audience, right? Buyers want to reach consumers. Buyers aren't interested in the topology of how they're reaching that consumer. They're not interested in what kind of avail am I buying. They're interested in what is the delivery platform. What they're interested in is can I connect my brand? Can I connect my product with the audience that I'm trying to reach? And so, this total TV model is also beneficial for the buyers because it's giving them the reach that they need. It's giving them the addressability that they need. It gives them, that capability to reach the consumer they want to get their message to with the right pacing, the right frequency, in the right context across all of the ad inventory that's available.
And so you just kind of touched on some of the benefits for the advertisers. And I'm just curious, how do you see it benefiting kind of both sides of the coin for advertisers and broadcasters to work together kind of towards this converged model?
I think the benefit for both sides is summed up by the words efficiency. Now that efficiency means different things for both sides of the equation, right? From the buyer's perspective, they want to optimize the utilization of their funds, right? They have money that they're going to spend on advertising, and they're going to spend that money across certain campaigns to reach certain viewers. The most efficient way to do that is to leverage the capabilities of that total TV market. If you have a message that you're trying to get out to a broad audience, many times the best way to do that is to take advantage of the mass audience that's attracted by tentpole events. Sports is the best example I can give you, right? If you're trying to sell pizzas or you're trying to sell beer or you're trying to sell something into that kind of a mass audience, the best way to do it is to go after that big audience where they are when they're there. So live sports continues to be a great way to take a mass appeal type campaign, get it out to the broadest audience possible. Um, Conversely, if you're a buyer and you're going after a very targeted demographic, you're an auto manufacturer and you're looking to target consumers in a certain income bracket that have expressed an interest in buying a car in the next 60 days, that's a much more targeted campaign. By leveraging the best of linear and the best of digital, we can create campaigns that go across the two delivery mechanisms to make sure that we're getting that buyer the highest possible return on ad spend. People use that acronym ROAS. And what they're really looking for is to optimize the return on their ad spend to hit the audience that they're trying to reach. From the seller's perspective, efficiency also plays a big role in this because the seller is in the best position to figure out how to utilize the inventory. This has always been one of the problems of the traditional linear spot selling model is that buyers tend to cherry pick the inventory. The buyer thinks they know what program they want to be in or what time slot they want to be in or what network they want to be on. Um, and that's not always the case, right? If you could describe the orders in terms of the audience that you're trying to reach with that order, it actually gives the seller the opportunity to optimize the delivery because the seller has the best information about the audience, the viewership, um, the context into which the advertising is being placed. And so there's an optimization that can happen on both sides of this equation. The buyer can get um, a better return on their ad spend, and the seller can get a better return on the inventory that they have.
Makes sense. And so kind of more effectively getting to both those aims of either reach or more granular targeting on both sides. Interesting. So with that in mind, are there kind of any specific steps broadcasters can take today to start that path of convergence where they might see immediate or potentially more near-term impacts?
Yeah, certainly. One of the first steps that a broadcaster needs to think about is what is the tool set that they're going to use to be able to manage this. You need a converged operating platform if you're going to be able to move towards this kind of a converged selling model. So you need to think about the tools that you're going to use to actually define where the inventory is. Where am I going to make placement opportunities available across both linear and digital? How am I going to offer those things, right? Or am I going to offer those things in terms of sponsorships, for example? So, back to my sports example from earlier, if you have someone that wants to buy a sponsorship of a sporting event, do you actually want to be able to create an opportunity that goes across all of your different platforms so that an ad buyer can effectively buy the entire audience, maybe the last position in the break right before a game begins, and you want to roadblock that across every platform. You want to do it on linear during the live broadcast. You want to do it on linear streaming for consumers that are watching on the CTV platforms. You want to do it in on demand. So even that if a customer is doing a playback at a later time to watch that game, you can guarantee that sponsorship placement will be the very last ad that that consumer sees before the game begins. Those are, the kinds of inventory packages that we can put together with these converged management platforms. So where is the inventory? How do you want to package the inventory? How do you want to sell the inventory? And then ultimately, how do you want to be able to do reconciliation for proof of performance? Those are the kinds of things broadcasters can be thinking about today. They can start making their plans around the tools that they want to use and the business models that they want to deploy as they move towards that kind of a converged inventory model and a converged audience model.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, would you consider any one step to be most important, be it seeing inventory in a single view or handling high profile programming? Is there anything kind of that's most key to the success of this?
I think that that question of how you actually define the inventory is the first thing that a lot of our broadcasters need to be thinking about. They need to have an understanding of just how and when and where they want to be able to create that inventory because it really is the first step. Once you start thinking about the inventory as being that converged inventory as being the thing you want to trade, and then you take the next step, which is to map that into audience. Because as we were talking about earlier, ideally what you really want to be selling is the audience. So, what tools are going to be used and what data sources are going to be used and things like ratings and forecasting. How are you going to bring that in? That is the single most important thing that I think a broadcaster needs to be considering today if they're going to take this first step towards an audience traded model.
So, I mean, with this more converged model, it sounds like there's also introduces potentially more workflow complexity. So, I'm curious, how is Imagine kind of helping the industry and customers adapt to those types of changes that come alongside this convergent model?
So we've been working with a couple dozen customers all around the world, and probably in 10 different markets, um, where we are starting to implement some of these fundamentals for moving towards converged trading models, converged inventory models, and audience-based trading. So the way that we've done that is we've built a modular platform. Uh, Landmark is one of the platforms that we've deployed globally, and it's built in a modular fashion. What that means is that our customers can pick the pieces that they need from that platform, whether it's our rights and scheduling platform, our airtime sales platform, the game plan platform for doing um, digital like optimizations of their linear platforms, or our Surefire module, which lets you use the same set of business rules for placements across digital inventory and CTV inventory that you might more normally see on a linear platform, things like those roadblock sponsorships that I was talking about earlier. We've built this all in a modular fashion so that our customers can map their business journey, right? They can make the choices about how they want to introduce these features and these functionalities and these migrations towards a more holistic operating model, but do it in a way that makes sense for their business. I think that's one of the things that's a bit unique about Imagine is we're not coming in trying to tell a broadcaster how to run their business or how to transform their business. What we do instead is come as a partner with a range of technologies, a range of solutions, and probably most importantly, real case studies, real references, real examples of how other customers have already been through this journey. We're bringing real world expertise to solve these problems and showing our customers how this has been done in other markets. Now, again, that's not to say that this is a one size fits all solution. We're not trying to say that there is some, perfect answer to this question. But what we are trying to say is there's real technology that has been proven in the field that can be adapted to the business case of any customer in the region that they're operating in to efficiently get them to the place that they need to be.
So highly customizable, but with proof points behind it, sounds like.
It's the advertising business has always had to be highly customizable. I mean, that's just the reality, right? No two operators run their advertising business exactly the same way. That's been the case for decades. As we move forward into this kind of digital world and the hybrid world of TV and CTV, I think that's becoming even more the case. What we see is our customers trying to navigate through this changing landscape. And because of that, they're making decisions and they're evolving, quarter by quarter and year by year towards what will eventually be a new operating model. But as they go through that journey, they're going to need the flexibility. They're going to need to be able to change their business in the way that makes the most sense for them. And there's not going to be one right answer for everybody because these businesses are run so differently. They have different kinds of inventory, they have different kinds of content, they attract different bases of users and viewers and subscribers. And so there's going to have to be a lot of flexibility as we move forward to be able to take the technology that we know works and apply it to these different business cases.
Interesting. So a lot still evolving, but things to help people out there as they kind of navigate all these changes and complexity. Well, really interesting stuff, Steve. Thanks so much for being here with us. I'm excited to hear more from you next week at Stream TV Show. But thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. Great set of questions and really looking forward to Stream TV as well.